Hi there, my name is Ron Friedman. I have been working as a character animator for over 21 years, starting with 2D feature animation and then moving into visual effects animation for film for such companies as ILM and Cafe Effects, where I was an animation supervisor on the film Pan's Labyrinth. And I've most recently worked in video game animation for a number of major game studios. I teach animation at Boston University's Center for Digital Imaging Arts and also with the New England Institute of Art in Brookline, Massachusetts. In this course, we're going to discuss animating a dialogue scene in Maya 2013. The topics we will cover over the course of this tutorial are planning the acting, what to do before animating, importing dialogue into the scene file, animating the spine and head, creating believable eye animation, and animating mouth shapes for dialogue. In the next section, we will discuss planning the acting, what to do before sitting in front of the computer. Planning the acting. What to do before sitting in front of the computer. One of the biggest mistakes that many less experienced animators make is to jump right into the computer and start moving the character around and guessing at what the action and poses should be. But animation is a slow and time-consuming process and is not an efficient method to be guessing or playing with how to approach a scene. It is animation's time considerations that led to the invention of the storyboard at the Disney Studios back in the 1930s, which created a way for filmmakers to start considering the visual look of a film after the script had been written, but still before actual animation took place. It took far less time to replace and change single images and drawings than to reanimate a piece of action. This pre-visualization has now become so commonplace that any film which has scenes that will utilize visual effects and crafting of a scene beyond merely filming it now uses 2D and even 3D storyboards and animatics to aid in the decision-making process prior to the long procedure of final scene creation taking place. And that is why it is very important for an animator to take as much time as necessary and possible to think about the scene, plan the scene, shoot video references, draw thumbnails, and anything else that can be done prior to actual animation to ensure that by the time you actually do begin the time-consuming process of animating a character, that you're starting with as much information as possible, knowing exactly what that character will be doing in the scene during every moment. Starting a scene with this information will make the actual time taken to animate the character as efficient as possible. The first thing to do is to listen to the audio clip and envision what the character might be doing. Picture the character in your mind and see them acting out the scene based on what you're hearing. Pieces of dialogue most often have natural cadences that get louder or softer, and accents that make particular punctuation of a piece of the dialogue. Having the character gesture or change position into a key pose on those accents or with those cadences will help tie the character's actions, what we're seeing, with the audio, what we are hearing. Animation is already requesting a suspension of disbelief from the viewer because they're watching a character that's not real. It is the animator's job to do everything they can to have the performance feel natural or appropriate for the character and to make the character's actions blend seamlessly with the audio so as to encourage that suspension of disbelief and help the viewer forget that they're watching something that is pure creation. Unless you are creating your own film, you're almost always being given the dialogue you will be working with and need to evaluate it based solely on what it is that you've been provided and how to get the most entertainment out of it possible, while also keeping in mind what is occurring with the character before and after the scene occurs. This is the audio clip that we are animating to.
Really? An autographed baseball? Really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
In the film, the character, who's a bit brash and is quick to talk down to others, a little arrogant, hears this piece of news and initially dismisses it. but then processes what he's been told and realizes it's something very cool and wants to be involved. He lets his coolness go and shows more of who he really is. Because of this, and based on the cadence and delivery of the actor in the audio, I'm trying to make sure that I'm showing that change of perception in his body language. The poses and the body language that my character will go through during the scene is how I'm going to communicate what my character is thinking and feeling. And because animation is an exaggerated medium, it's important that I make sure the body language my character uses in the scene tells how he's feeling and what he's thinking in the clearest way possible. Having said that, I also don't want to create a performance that's too direct of an interpretation of just the words. My character's supposed to be thinking and feeling these things for the first time, and so his actions should be in character, but also feel natural, at least for him. I don't want to have him acting out individual words as if he were playing a game of charades. So I want to have the character posed in a way that shows his arrogance and initial disregard for what he's heard, then show the realization of what has been said, and finally the reaction to that change of thought and feeling. Richard Williams notes in the Animator's Survival Kit the fact that legendary animator Bill Titla said that the three things in animation are anticipation, action, and reaction. Similarly, Charlie Chaplin had stated that the importance of acting, especially in silent film, is tell him what you're going to do it, and tell him that you've done it. They are both stating the same thing, that to show action clearly, one must anticipate the action, perform the action, and show a reaction. In the case of RC, the action is the change of emotion, the dropping of his pretense and revealing his true nature. The anticipation will be his dismissal of what he's heard. He's setting up and clearly showing his attitude. The action is him stopping himself short and showing the change of attitude in his expression. And the reaction will be showing the letting go of his attitude and exhibiting his excitement and desire to become part of what's going on. So there are certain body language stereotypes that we associate with arrogance. Hands on the hips, the body pose of swagger, throws of the head, putting your nose in the air, etc. These actions and postures will help tie the arrogance of his body language to the arrogance we hear in the audio with the and it, and his tone when he says, "Really, a baseball?" The silence that occurs between that line and his next one is where he realizes what he's heard and what that really means to him. And so we need to show that change in his body language. We can't and shouldn't have him stay absolutely still just because there's no sound. Showing change in action during silence is a positive way of showing thought and emotion. By having his hands drop, which can be an embodiment of letting go of his pretense, a shift in his eyes and brow, and a shift of the angle of his head, are subtle actions that can still communicate the shift in his attitude and emotion. Then, when his voice raises in excitement in the last part of the dialogue, we can show his excitement and letting go of his attitude by having him move in big actions, a clear excitement and openness in his facial expression, and maybe even quick changes between his poses during that time to keep his actions snappy and full of energy. Now that I have a pretty good idea of what I want him to be doing in his body language, it's time for me to create some visual reference that will help orchestrate what the movement of the animation will be. If I were having a character do something that I couldn't easily do myself, then I would look for video reference of someone who can do those things so that I could use that to ensure that the movement and body mechanics were based in reality and how someone needs to move to accomplish those actions. For example, I can't do parkour of any kind and jump from rooftops, etc. So if I was animating someone moving that way, I would look for reference of people who are experienced in free running and can do that so I can emulate the body mechanics of those actions. But since what my character is doing is, in fact, something I can do myself, then it is beneficial for me to shoot video of myself acting out the scene so that I can have a direct visual reference for the body language and attitudes that I wish to include in my character's performance.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
So what I'm doing here is I'm recording myself many, many times, saying the dialogue over and over and over again, and acting it out, trying to find something that I'm going to enjoy and it's going to be something that I can use in the animation.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
Very frequently in animation, when you're actually acting something out, you might do a little something that you wouldn't necessarily think to do if you were just totally focused minusculely on every little bit of the performance. Whereas if you're just kind of doing it, then you're likely to do something that you wouldn't necessarily pre-consciously think of and might just kind of sort of happen by accident. And those are the kind of things that often are something that actually is going to look great.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
Me acting it out a bunch of different ways over and over and over again gives me an opportunity to pick the things that I like best and create a performance from that. It also allows me to then look at that action, frame by frame and be able to break down exactly what I was doing in certain moments.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
The other thing that I'm doing in acting this out over and over and over again is looking for opportunities to have the body language communicate some way what the dialogue is and hit certain beats.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
I obviously don't want to be so blatant as to be like, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one? Or anything like that. But looking for moments to have like tilts of the head or gestures, hitting those emphasis points so that it feels like the body language and the dialogue, the sound are married as much as possible always helps.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
So then once I pick a piece that I really like, then I can take that and isolate just that little piece of action and be able to bring that into QuickTime so that I can actually analyze that frame by frame and see what the frame numbers are for certain actions and how long certain actions are taken.
Once the video is chosen, I open the video in QuickTime Player and use the video for reference while I'm animating. I use QuickTime for two reasons. The first reason is that QuickTime allows you to switch the counter from minutes, seconds, etc. to use frame numbers instead, which allows me to see exactly how many frames an action is taking, or the number of frames between actions, or the exact frame number I'm hitting certain key poses. The second reason that I use QuickTime when reviewing and referencing my video is because of the fact that QuickTime allows you to step forwards and backwards through video by using the left and right arrow keys on the keyboard. This allows me to go frame by frame and analyze motions as much as I wish. I'm not sure why not many other media players incorporate those features as well, but being able to see frame numbers and being able to step frame by frame forwards and backwards through video is extremely helpful in analyzing movement for animation. Lastly, I can create thumbnails for the scene. Thumbnails are small drawings that I can use to play with how I might exaggerate the character's poses to take advantage of his ability to move in a way that is bigger than a real person. I can also play with posing and orientation of the shoulders, hips, hands, head, etc. to create key poses that tell the story clearly and help sell the action in the best way possible. In these thumbnails that I've drawn for the scene, I've attempted to find the line of action through the body for the poses and how those can change through the poses to give me attractive action. I've also looked for opportunities to push the shoulders and hip orientations to create strong silhouette and to show attitude and emotion changes in his body language and poses. I can make many little drawings to play with my options in the posing very quickly compared to the time it would take to pose the character in Maya to decide if the pose is going to work or not. Now that I have all this reference material that I have created for myself, I can move forward into beginning the actual animation in Maya, knowing that I've done everything I can to take as much of the guesswork out of the process as possible, and that I'm going to be creating a strong scene that will tell the story clearly and in an entertaining way. In the next chapter, we're going to discuss setting up the scene, what to do before animating. setting up the scene. What to do before animating. So we got Maya open, and what we're going to do is we're going to open up the characters scene file. For this dialogue scene, I'm using 11 rig. This is a rig that is available for free. You can get it either from the 11 Second Club website on the resources page, or you can get it on the 11 rig website, which is 11rig.blogspot.com. And this is our guy right here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the project. So I'm going to go to File and Set Project, and I have a folder here for dialogue tutorial in Maya, and so I'm just going to create a folder here, and I'm going to call it Really a Baseball, because that's the dialogue, and so that way I know that that's what that is. So I'll set project, and when I click set project, it's going to say, do you want to create a default workspace? Yeah, I'll create a default workspace. After having done that, I want to go here to the project window. Opening this up will generate all the different folders that you want within a project. And so by clicking accept, now if I go back in and go to save scene as, go back here, so Maya now under Really a Baseball, here's all those folders, and so I can save the scene. What I usually like to do under scenes is create a folder called Working. And the reason I create this folder called Working is that way I can save all these iterations as I'm going along in this folder. And then when I have a version that I'm done with, I can save that up in the folder above it with a cleaner name. And it gives me a way of being able to find versions a lot cleaner. So in the Working folder, I'm going to call this Really a Baseball underscore version 1, because this is the first version I'm doing, underscore 001 starting animate. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to get the scene settings set up the way I want them. The scene that he comes in is set to 24 FPS, but I prefer to animate scenes in NTSC 30 frames a second. The reason I animate in 30 frames a second is that is standard for a lot of video games and stuff. Not only that, but also doing animation at 30 frames a second, since video is 30 frames a second, then I don't have to worry about having to deal with the animation when it gets transferred to video being like a 3:2 pull down, or it might not look exactly the way I intend. So I just prefer to animate at 30. The other reason I want to do the scene in 30 frames a second is because of the fact that the video reference that I shot is 30 frames a second. And so by having the video and the animation of the scene be in the same frame rate, I'm able to actually use a one-to-one translation for this. Now I don't know how long the audio needs to be or how long the scene needs to be yet, because I haven't put the audio in. So if I bring the audio in, that is going to let me see how long the scene needs to be. So if I go here to import and select the option box, I can change the file type. Usually it's default to best guess. You can change it to audio. And by doing that, now when you select import, it's specifically going to look for audio files. Now I have a folder for this whole thing where I've saved this autographed baseball wave. But if I wanted to, I could transfer that file into the audio folder that's in the project, because here in the projects there is a sound folder. So if I wanted to, I could put it in there. So now I've imported the audio, and now it's there. If for any reason it didn't show up in the dialogue in the timeline here, you can always right mouse click and go to sound, and then here you might need to like click on that button to tell it that it's this sound that you want to use, in case it didn't come up automatically. And now when I press play,
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
so I would say, probably like 220. Probably doesn't really need to be longer than that, because that's basically when the dialogue ends. Now you can see here that if I switch the textures and turn on the textures, that we're not seeing his skin right. And the reason for that is because of the fact that his skin textures are pointing to the source images folder in his original setup. Since we created a custom one, that folder's empty and it's not finding them. So what we can do is here in in here, if we go into 11 rig and then go to the source images folder, this is all the stuff he came with. I can select this stuff, and then I can copy this into the Really a Baseball folder here, source images. Copy that here, and now, so if I save this, starting anim, if I now reopen the scene, starting anim, and now having restarted the scene, if I switch to textures, boom, he's textured and all the textures are there, which is great, and that's what we want. So now I want to be able to set up his controllers and be able to grab all of them at once very quickly in order to be able to set keys on major poses. So one of the ways that I can do that is I can go here to all objects, turn them off, and select just the curves. Because all his controls are curves, I can turn on only the ability to select curves, drag, select, and now I have them all. If I go to the script editor, in the script editor, here on the bottom is a line which is me grabbing all those controls. If I Control-C copy that, Control-V paste it down here, I can then drag select all of that stuff down here in this window, and then I can middle mouse click and hold that down and drag that up into a custom folder. Now I have that up here in my toolbar, and so if I deselect this and I click this, boom, it grabs all his stuff. I can set a button for that by going to the shelf editor, and here in the last one right there, that is me grabbing it, and I will give the icon label, I'll call it 11 anim. Click Save All Shelves, and now you can see here that it says 11 anim, and that's how I know that that's all his controls. So now I can select them that way. The other way that I can be able to select him quickly is if I go to Create with all of them selected, go to Create, Sets, Quick Select Set, and I'll call this Quick Select Set 11 All Anim. So now I have a quick select set. If I go here to Edit, Quick Select Sets, All Anim, I select that, and there he is. Now that I've done that, the other way that I can grab it is by going to the outliner. And if I open up the outliner, there is a All Anim, that's the Quick Select Set I set. I can right mouse click that and say Select Set Members. And that's also a way that I can select all of his controls. And now the last thing that I want to do here is I want to create a scene camera. So I'll go to Create Cameras and create a camera here. And let's call this Scene Camera. Okay. And now I'm going to look through the scene camera. And if I grab, there's my guy, just go ahead and set it up. And for this scene, I basically was kind of sort of looking at him kind of from this angle, so I'm fine with doing it kind of from this angle. It's not specific, but if this was a scene where I had to have it be a certain way, then obviously I would want to do that from the beginning. But I've shot my reference and everything that he's looking straight at me. So I'll go ahead and have my camera set up like that. Now I'll go ahead and create a key here. I'm going to create another key at the end, and what I'm going to do is actually just have, over the course of the animation, have the camera move a little bit, and basically what that does is it's just a way of keeping the camera alive. You don't want the camera to ever truly completely stop, and so doing this is a way of being able to keep the camera alive, keep it alive. So now that I have the scene set up properly, I've imported my audio, saved my initial file, and also created a way of quickly being able to grab all his animation controls, I'm ready to begin the animation. And so in the next section, we're going to discuss blocking in the scene, creating key poses. blocking in the scene, creating key poses. So now that I got the camera and all that stuff set up, what I want to do is I want to go back into a perspective view so that I am able to move around. And I usually set up a 4-panel view, so I have my scene camera up here. Here's my perspective where I can move around. Here's a top view and a front view in case I need an orthographic for any reason. So I'll go into the perspective view here, and I'm going to select the camera and turn off the view of cameras. I don't need to see it in the scene, and I don't want it to get in my way as I'm animating. So if I open up my reference here and I change this to frame numbers, this is the other reason why I want to do the scene in 30 frames a second, is because of the fact that my video reference is 30 frames a second, and so because they're both set to the same thing, I can get a direct one-to-one transference of this. So what I want to do first is basically just set up the key poses. And so the key poses are the poses where it's the most extreme point of an action, where I can, where before it changes direction or something. So I'm not even necessarily worried too much about where exactly the sound accents are coming in yet. I can deal with that later. Right now I want to get the major body poses. So the first one that I'm seeing, obviously, is the very beginning pose. And then after that is this pose where my weight is shifting and I'm stepping back over that foot, which is right after the and before the really, because there's where I say really, and then really, and then that obviously before I start the big inhale on really. So after really, then that pose too. So let's go ahead and start setting those. Let's see. So the first one, obviously, the start pose. We have the guy who's a little more forward. So I'll bring him forward a little bit. These knee controllers need to go well in front of him so that we don't have to deal with them reversing around or anything. I usually prefer to have my arms be IK. So these arms are already set up in IK, which is great. I really only ever use FK on arms if I'm doing something like the character's walking and I don't want to have to keep dragging the IK handles along with him. But the reason that I usually use IK is because of the fact that way you're able to have the body move and the hands move in their own arcs and their own timing, and you don't have to counter animate the hands against the body. More frequently than not, I find myself more glad that I am able to be free with the arms on their own timing and treating them as their own entities and allowing them to be a primary mover than I ever am having to deal with the negative aspects of moving the controllers around. So before I go any further, I'm going to select the entire character and I'm going to bake frame 0. I'm going to select all the controllers and key everything on frame 0. Make sure that animation keys turned on. I'm keying everything at 0, and the reason I'm keying everything at 0 is when I create this pose, I don't want to create this pose and have forgotten to key some part of it and then go later and move a part that I didn't move before, and now that first pose is different because it didn't have a key on it. So setting a key, even if I don't change a certain controller, by setting a key on everything there, it makes sure that whatever this first pose that I set and every other pose that I set, that pose will stay that pose no matter what. I didn't mean to key there at the end frame, so I'm just going to go ahead and go here to the dope sheet and open that up and frame playback range and delete that last key. I don't need that anymore. So I've got a key here on everything. Go back to actually creating the pose. So this foot was stepping back, so in order to be able to have somewhere for him to go, it would be nice to actually have it forward, so he has somewhere to go back on it. This foot can be a little back, and maybe swing it out a little bit, something like this. And now this is just main poses, so it doesn't have to be perfect as far as the arms and the hands and everything. We can go in and polish that stuff later. I might end up changing some things depending on how, as I'm moving around and moving through this, I might change exactly how I want to handle this. Let's see. So he's kind of looking down. All right. So that's pretty decent as far as that first pose. The next pose is as I'm shifting my weight over here before I go down. So it's around frame 15. It's probably around 14. It's about where the key is. So I'll go to frame 14 and I will grab with everything selected, key that again as well. So now I can go in here, and one of the things is that I've moved my weight over here, and I don't want to have the leg totally lock up, but he moves his weight over that foot. Clearly over that foot. And this foot is starting to step through. So I can go. You may have noticed that I've been moving around from different angles pretty consistently. And the reason I do that is because of the fact that it's important to make sure that the animation is actually moving solidly, that it is a solid posing and solid movement through world space. It might look fine from a camera angle, but it's important that it actually move, that it actually move well. Now I'm noticing here too that I have my weight, I'm kind of pushed this way, or pushing down on this way and lifting this hip in order to be able to bring this leg through, and so these shoulders are a little rotated like that. So I tilted this wrong. This needs to go in this direction, and this goes in that direction. Shoulders are down like that. Something like this. So make sure that's like that. Something like this. Sufficient for now. I always rotate locally and translate on the world axis. It's a pretty clean way of working, I have come to find. So let's see if there's anything else. My head orientation, my head is kind of bent in the opposite direction, so I'm going to do that. Something like this, and give that head that orientation like that. That-ish. Check for my front view, through the camera view. Now the timing and stuff I'm not really, again, worried about too much yet, because we'll have an opportunity to tweak that stuff later. So let's go to the next pose, and the most extreme portion of that is here. So frame 39, 40 is where that's finally settling. So I'll go to frame 40, and key here, grab this guy, key everything, make sure I'm on it. So, the major parts of the pose is my hips are kind of for the back. When it's turned back, my angle of the spine, if I drew a line through my spine here, I can see that there's kind of this S curve going on there. So I want to make sure I get that in the pose. So the foot is back. I can actually grab this key. By the way, in order to copy that key, if this isn't something you're already aware of, if you middle mouse click on this frame, if I middle mouse click and while I'm holding the middle button down, I move it to where I want let go and hit key, it will key that same value at that frame. So now here I have that key back there again. The reason I did that was because that is already flat on the ground, and so by having that key there, I could bring this back and have it actually be on the ground, kind of like where it should be. So we can zero that out, rotate it a little bit like that, because in the pose I have that weight shifted back that way, and I'm a little more middle with my body weight, actually even still maybe favoring over that foot a little bit because of the fact that I have that bend in my spine, and I want to make sure that my root, or that my overall body mass is over my feet, and that I look balanced. It's important that the character be balanced and not look off in its weight and its posture. That's one of the things that kind of throws an animation to make it not look right is whenever something is in a position that doesn't feel correct. So he'll be looking out the top of his eyes. At me, or at camera. I'm not worried about getting facial expressions in yet either, because we can do that later in the polish. The important thing is getting the overall body poses. So again, by making sure that his hands are correctly spaced in relation to where his body is in world space. So, now I actually get into that pose pretty quickly. So if we actually look here, really, like I allow my weight to shift back over that other foot. It actually is maybe a little more over than I originally intended or thought. So let's bring it over, and we'll bring the arms over too. This, and that, sure it's kind of hanging down so it feels like it has weight. And that. So I get into that pose really, like somewhere by 25. Yeah, 25, 26. So what I could do is I could go here where I'm most of the way, which is like around 33, and then again, if I click all anim, grab all those controllers, and so if I'm most of the way here at this point in time, I can middle mouse click, drag back to frame 26, let go, hit key, and now I have a scroll to that position. And that's a little, maybe not quite, maybe not be as far, so maybe something like this, 30, and then go back to like 25. And then I can mess with that later. But that feels somewhat correct for the time that I have going. So I'm going to save. It's good to save pretty frequently. So I'll save it as version 1_002, first 3 poses in. I usually just, I do this part numerically so that it lists correctly, but then include notes so I kind of know where I was at with a certain, with the scene. So that way, in case things go horribly wrong and I need to get back to a certain point, then I can just save, just reopen at that point and know that was kind of the benchmark of where it is. So let's go look at the reference.
An autograph.
Really? So I'm doing stuff with my head, but my body change is actually kind of just through here. I shift the weight over to the other foot and I get this kind of a bend in here. And I can add the secondary head accents later. I'm just looking for the big body changes. So around frame 61, yeah, let's say 60, 61. So there's 61, grab all the anim, key that. If you want to look at it, shifts his weight over here a little bit. Changes this like that, and I'm looking for that change going from that to that, so the hip's up and over and it's more of that bend. So I want to get that hip over, so really autographed baseball, and so it kind of shifts his weight over that foot. Then this is bent that way. Like that. Now notice here that my hip coming over, that feels pretty decent. I don't quite feel like I have enough of this here. Yeah, there, that feels like it has a little more tude. Like that. And the head is up. Make sure I got change in the neck as well. Autographed. Head's kind of up. Up. So like that. And looking at the arm poses. Oh, that, just keeping it alive. Go over here and check side, make sure again that the movement is correct. Since I shifted my weight over that leg, I probably moved a little bit back, and it's good to want to move the character a little bit back and make sure that that stuff is staying alive. I can't see that change as much front view. Having the character moving that way is something that we do naturally, and you know, it's important to get that in. So let's check the camera view, make sure that this looks good. Eye's going to be the eye controller. There we go. Eye is still looking kind of almost like through the bottom of the lids. Autographed baseball. Okay. And so I'm going to continue going through the scene, looking for those main poses and getting those main poses in, following the same methodology that you've seen now over the first few poses, looking for where the weight is going, where the feet are going, and I'm going to get the rest of the poses in and then show you all that once that stuff's in, just to be able to keep the pacing of the tutorial moving forward in the most brisk way possible. So now I have gone through and I have created poses on the major portions of the scene. So in going through the video reference, there was, the start pose, this pose of the shifting of the weight, the pose where I'm finally shifting the weight, this pose, the anticipation of the next big shift down, that pose there, this pose here coming up, this pose here right before I put my weight down, this pose where I put my weight down, this pose where I've dropped my head for weight, and then really, and then an autographed baseball leaning over, and then, hey, can I have one? So, just those poses. Now I haven't done really any animation yet. As you can see with everything selected, I've only done major poses. So there's the start pose, that anticipation of getting ready to step, really an autographed baseball, and then, wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one? And then, hey, can, because it's transferring the weight. Hey, can I have one? But when I play it, one of the things that I noticed is that the audio, the way I have it set up here is that the audio starts right away, but so I need to offset it slightly in order to make sure that it's hitting at the same moments as in the video. So if the audio needs to be offset, but if you need to change that, what you can do is you can go here to Sound Autograph Baseball, select that option box, and then here in the sound, you can see here Attribute Editor Autograph Baseball. There's an offset, and you can change that number. So I want the sound to actually come sooner. So I can change this to -10, and that will pull the audio closer in this direction. I think actually that might be a little too much. I think like -6. But now I should be able to play it.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
And then now the animation can actually finish at 204, because that's where it finished in the movie, was around 202, 204. So that's how I knew that the sound was on. So initially I just matched these poses to those frame numbers and then aligned the sound. So now my new length is going to be 204, and I can save this as blocked in. Like that. And so if I play it, you can see that by having those major poses in, even though I haven't actually started animating anything or really trying to polish any of the movement, just having those major poses in and paying attention to the shifting of the weight and everything as I'm going through it, you can see here.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
So there's timing things that need to happen. So for example, this needs to get most of the way sooner, so I can drag this over and get him most of the way sooner.
Oh, hey, can I have one?
So you can get an idea of how that's going to work. But it's already shaping up because we're using strong poses. So in the next section, we're going to talk about starting from the center, animating the root and feet first. Starting from the center, animating the root and feet first. So here we have the blocking scene, and now it's time to start animating. And when I start actually animating between the main poses, I like to start with the root and the feet. The reason I start with the root and the feet is because the root is responsible for the big body movement, and that's the overall action, and making that big and work and solid, then it's setting a foundation for the rest of the animation. The feet are responsible for the balance and making sure that that those two things are working together is what will give this character solidity and make it feel correct. So let me switch to my perspective view, and what I'm going to do is get more to kind of like where the camera is. So the first thing I notice when I look at the video as far as breaking down what's happening in between the poses is that my root actually comes up pretty quick, like by frame 5 or 6, it's already straightened up quite a bit. So what I can do is go to, say, frame 6 and just increase that rotation so it's actually coming up sooner, like that. And that's more correct to what was happening in the reference. The other thing is the feet here, obviously that's just coming between two poses. So that is where the foot actually finishes its land. So I'm going to copy that here, and then based on the rhythm and the stepping, he should probably finish the step by there. He'll be up kind of on the ball of his foot, but he would finish by there. The passing pose would probably be more somewhere around there. So if I open up the dope sheet and just grab that passing pose key and move that over. So now it's passing around 12, and then boom, by there it's stepping down. But we want some roll on that, so I'll give it some roll so he's actually up on his toe, something like there. And I think it would finish by, say, frame 32 maybe, something like that. So I will move that finish key to 32. And now it's slowing out of the roll, and I don't want it to slow out of the roll. I want it to go feed right into it. So what I could do here is I go like this. Let me just zoom in on this chunk here. I want this to do something more like this, so it's feeding directly in and slowing in, and I can actually start the roll a little bit in that passing pose, so that way this is more smooth. So now I got him stepping through, and now that's through is feeling pretty good. And the knee probably would come out a little bit by then. So let's say by like here, do something like this, I can carry that through to 40, and then bring that back a couple frames and replace that so that it's slowing in, and probably kill this key because we can just let it naturally feed over. So that, so that's working pretty well. Now we want that need to stay over in this new position. And maybe something like that. Click softening in. Something like that. So we got that stepping through, that's great. The next thing is, in the reference, my root, once I step through, an autographed here. When I go into autographed, my root gets over pretty quickly. I would say it's like at least, 2/3 of the way by say frame 52, it's, slowing in, or 51. So what I can do is, got the root selected, go to like frame 55, for example, and then middle mouse click, drag that back to 51, and then that will give me more of a slow in there. And I want to do the same thing on the next one. Now on this one, it's interesting, my root is actually going like boom, hitting there, and then boom, moving a little more. So it's like base, ball, and it's actually got two little moves in there. So it's kind of like I hit once, and that's like there's a break down there in the root. So what I can do is go where I'm kind of, a good chunk of the way, like here, and I'll, again, middle mouse click, bring that, say, to 71, say, maybe 72. So that's kind of that halfway. Now I want it to slow in and out. So what I can do is if I go at 72, and if I flatten this, then that's slowing in and out. But that's going to be too hard. It's a little too hard. So if I go a couple frames back from that, and a few frames forward from that, and key those, and then kill the one in the middle, like that. See, that actually makes it a little softer. And on 69, I'm just going to give it a little down, just a little bit, so that it serves as an accent. Just going like baseball. Yeah. Baseball. And then I'll do the same thing here. I'll go to 81 or 83, bring that back to about 81. I'll do the same thing there. Just give it a little down to give it a little accent.
Autographed baseball.
Yeah, so that's feeling pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and save. And call that animating root and feet. Animating root and feet. So that's good. And I've got a little bit of the down in there. Cool. So the next thing is, if we look at the video, I have this big action where I come out of baseball, and then my root goes up and around, and I'm turning over, and then boom, and then I drop, and there's a little accent there, boom, and then settling. So I want to actually flesh that out, coming around, ha, boom, like that. So there's that down accent, and that is happening at boom, right around frame 111. So what I'll do is I'll go, say, to 113, bring that back to 111, boom, and I'll give that a little down, comes in, boom, and then comes down and up again. That's nice. Okay, now I want this to flow up and around and over better. So, if I open up my graph editor, and let's take a look at let's take it axis by axis. So 96 to 105, this is where he's coming around and over, like he moves screen left and then comes back around. So I want that to feed more. So if I grab the curves like this, then that will come through and around and feel better, it'll flow better. Next, on the Y, which is the movement up and down, probably that's going to be a little flatter because that's the beginning of the action. And then in here, I want that to come more up and over and also have more flow. So something like this. Boom. And I can even push this, something like that. So it's really nicely over and boom. Okay. On the Z, this is where we're ending. Same idea, we want it to come through this and flow right through it. Whoosh. Like a breakdown as opposed to a key or an extreme. And for the rotation, definitely we do not want it to flatten out like that, so bring this up and over so it flows. Take a look at the Y. So now this, what we can do is we can kind of soften this so it's, soften that so it's something like this. It flows nicely. And then this is kind of the same as the rotation x-axis. We want it to just flow through like that. So let's see how that looks. So now that, see, that flows a lot better.
Wait.
Yeah. Let's say, even here, I think that we could have even more of an up. So I'm going to go ahead and add a key at 100. And I really want to feel all that change. So I'll bring that up, and this could actually almost like serve like a little anticipation down before the big movement, and just exaggerate that a little bit like this. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so that's... So now that is all coming around and feels a little more... even bigger, I think. So it's perfectly, even if I'm not doing that in the actual animation, this is what, in the actual live reference, this is what animation's about, is getting these exaggerations in. So that's feeling pretty good now. Again, I'm not worried about what the arms are doing. I'm not worried even what about the spine or head are doing. They're just behaving in between those main keys. As far as actual smooth movement, I'm just looking at the feet and the root.
Baseball. Wait, really?
So that's feeling pretty good now. So we'll continue with the feet, getting the feet, and then blocking in the rest of the scene in the next section, where we continue with starting from the center. So now we're going to continue. Now that we've got the body coming up and over in a nice way, now we want to fix the feet. So first thing we can do is, this foot actually is the one that moves first, and then this one. So we can see in the video that as I come around here, this foot is the one that moves first, and this foot clearly kind of does its thing last. Right in there. So, get this foot and have it start moving, say around frame 94 here. Bring that over, let it start moving there. And then have it, say, here, bring it back a few frames, and then we can kill this frame after it, so that it's coming over and so that there's a little bit of a moving hold there. And then in between there, like right around here, we'll just give it a little roll. Just a little bit, something like that, to help keep the whole foot alive in there while it's moving. And then this foot comes after the fact. So probably won't start moving until the other one is pretty much stopped. So we'll go here, grab this guy, move that over. So if we have it, say, finished by there, I'll go back a couple frames and key that and then kill the frames after it, or kill the key after it. So now, again, we get kind of a moving hold all through there, which is nice, and then we'll add a little roll there in the middle, just to keep it alive there, sort of like that, coming around. Now notice that the knee here doesn't quite look right, so I'm going to have it to probably start moving around the time his body does, like in there. It would make sense that his knee would move a little bit. So move it a little bit. And then by there, that's when it should be pretty significantly moved over. So what we can do is we can kill that key there in the middle, which is steering it wrong. It's evil and must be destroyed. Go in here, and then what we'll do is we'll go in here or so, key a few frames back so we get a nice slow in. And we want that to live there all the way through here. So I'll grab that, key it, key that, kill the one in the middle. Don't need it anymore. It's not our friend. Boom. So there, that feels a lot better. And then coming back here, we don't want it to come all the way back, but we want it to come some of the way back. So what I'll do is like maybe like that much. So I'll middle mouse click here and let go and key that. So now it goes that much. And I'll go maybe 2/3 of the way, go back a few frames so it's slowing in to that as well. See, that's looking pretty good. For the root of the body, that's not a huge movement right in here, but in here we don't want that to be too even, so I'll go 2/3 of the way, a few frames back, middle mouse click, holding the middle mouse button, go a few frames back, let go, middle mouse click. So now we get a slow in there. Now here, definitely in the coming in there, that's almost sure going to be slowing in. So there, me leaning in and over. Yeah, I'm already like 150, 151. I'm already most of the way there. So I'll go about 2/3 of the way. Say 163, and then the mouse click back to about 153. Feels a little off. Let's try 161 to 151 or 152. That feels pretty good.
An autographed baseball?
And so same thing here with the feet. So here, probably the foot, this foot would start shifting maybe around here. So I'll just scoot it over. There, that's fine. And then we want it to pretty much be done, I'd say by here, say 151. So what we'll do is we'll go most of the way, middle mouse click, and then key back that to say 149. Yeah, that's a little abrupt. Let's try here to say 150. So that's got a nice slow.
Autograph baseball.
I'm going to do the same thing with the knee.
Autograph baseball.
Have it get there to the way middle mouse click, let go in the middle. Get that slowly in as well. That's staying alive nicely. And the right foot. Look at this. So the middle of the right foot. We'll start here. So I'm going to, I don't want to lose that there, so I'm going to go ahead and say like at 142, copy that to 147. So it's mainly there, but maybe just starting to move out of that. And then same thing here, I want it to slow in, go to 164, middle mouse click, drag it back to say 156, let go. And then we got that nice little roll, that slow end moving hold. Same thing with the knee here. Go 142 to 147 when the knee starts. And then I'll do the same thing 164 to say 156. See how that looks.
Really? An autograph baseball?
That feels pretty good. Okay. And let's go ahead and save. Make sure we don't lose what we have. 06, almost done. Always good to save. And so now, on the root, after baseball, so I straighten my root, and then I go down, say it like a frame 181. So I straighten up, and then I go down, then over that other foot. So I need to get that in. So I'll grab the root. So start to straighten up, like here, straighten up, and then 181, that was where I wanted to dip down, so let me switch to world. And then 181 is where I wanted to do the dip, to like the down, so I feel that accent. So it's like, boom. I do a little bit much. Something like that. So there's the down. And then on 187 is where my root is still pretty much straight on. And I'm, about to step over onto that other foot. So I'll key here, keep that still a little more up. And then I should still be more over that foot. Right there. And then at 192. And then at 192 is where I'm stepping down on that foot. Now I'm clearly on that foot. My weight is shifted over. My right side of my hip is more forward. And I've come down on it. Boom. Now my hip is a little more over and I've stepped more on it. Something like that. It's pretty exaggerated, so I'll bring it back over, but the main thing is I gotta kill the key in the middle. So by killing that, softens that. That's should still be up. So I'm coming. It should probably not be quite as much. And then I can push this a little bit, exaggerate it slightly, and then just soften into this. A couple frames there. And that's feeling pretty good. Let's see.
Hey, can I have one? Really?
Yeah, that's stepping in.
Hey, can I have one?
Nice.
Hey, can I have one?
And so now the last thing is to fix the feet.
Hey, can I have one?
So let's fix those feet.
Hey, can I?
So this foot that foot's going to stay back there until about 176 based on when the leg's leaving, but it'll start rolling up. So I can get the roll up started and then make sure in the graph editor that that's not slowing into that it instead is feeding into it here. So instead of slowing in, I want it to kind of do that. And then we know that the right foot's planted by, say, here. So I'm going to, well, that's the end. So I need to copy that here and then copy it again to about here. This is where the step, I'm going to be on the heel. So I can roll this back a little bit like that. Show that a little better. Roll that back a little so it's stepping on the heel. Get rid of the toe lift. And that. Rolling up, and also give it a little toe wiggle so that the toe is actually angled up a little bit. And then boom, it steps down nicely. Maybe have that happen like 191 instead. That. And that's feeling pretty good. And then the left foot, I like the way that is turning, but it's lifting up already, and I think that by here, well, first of all, I'm going to lose the toe lift. I think I had done toe lift originally, but I don't think toe lift is as good as the roll. So I'm going to roll the foot like that. It's going to be up, something like this. And so through there, I'll bring that back, or just from here key this, let it start rolling a little bit, and then just kill the key at 190, which we don't need anymore. And then again, just middle mouse click a couple frames back, so it's slowing in nicely. And I think we're done. Let's see. Zoom out a little bit and go to scene camera. Let's see what this looks like. Turn off our curves.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good. All right, nice. So we are ready to move on to the next segment, which is working up and out, animating the spine and head. Working up and out, animating the spine and head. So now that we have our root animation and our feet animation, which is giving us our gross body movement, we can move forward and start animating the spine and the head and neck. And so if we open up our reference and take a look here, so that same straightening that we had with the root, we have here as well. So by frame 8, the spine is straightening out, say by 7 or 8. So I'll do that same kind of thing of by 7 or 8, keying this and giving that a little bit of attitude and looking at that arc. You know, it's got a little bit of an arc this way, like that. And that kind of stays there without majorly shifting until, say, 19. So I'll go here to 19, keep that going, kill the key in the middle. I don't think that was pushing that far enough. So, like 19, and then by 24, 25, it's really pushing that S in the spine. So make sure that I'm really pushing that. That can be a little exaggerated so that there's a clear difference between this one and that one. Okay. And then that holds until 42. Bring that over to 42. Let that hold till 42. Oh, I can keep that alive, but in order that it's not drifting too far from where it was, I'll just middle mouse click and copy here to here so that it's staying alive but still maintaining some of that attitude. And so by 49, that's straightened up quite a bit. And I've shifted it back over. The orientation has changed again. It's back over the original root more. So there, 49-ish there. So that's now more back over here. Like that. And that's actually serving as a nice, very decent slow way into that other pose. And that stays there till 66. And we want that to hold a little bit here. So let's go to, say, 62, and then bring that to, say, 64. Yeah, it's 69. And it's done that shift. And kind of that. It's more like that. Base. And we'll kill that hold. And then we're keeping that alive. I say going here to 77. And then we can also soften the coming over, because that's feeling a little abrupt. So like there, for example, I can bring that up so it's slowing in a little more. Let that actually be a little bit of a push down further, and then the same thing, or slow that in. That's good. Now by 81, there's that additional shift. 81 there. And that can actually be a slow into this. So I'll just bring this back to 81. And this is more forward. So to get that to match more with that original, you can look here at the orientation and bring that so that it's working into it. That's not a huge difference between those. And then so here, same thing. Bring this like that, and that's pretty halfway. So it was the, and then that needs to continue sideways, or continue moving over. So instead of coming back, it needs to continue over. So we can bring this up, bring this over, so that it's going side, more side. So like this, and then it'll go, and come over and do that roll over. So, as much as you try to have things just, the original poses, those first poses are really just meant to, they're meant to serve as an initial pass, but once you actually start now going in and fleshing stuff out, and obviously it becomes clear that it's like, oh, well, maybe I just need to handle it this way instead. So there, we want that to be a slow in from 81, so if that's doing that, let's do that. That is so we want that to slow in, something like that. That. Make sure that's slowing in, coming up a little bit, but mainly slowing in. That's slowing in, and then rotations. So that's slowing into that, that's good. This is kind of, you want that to slow into where it was headed. And then same thing here, we want that to not reverse. So bring it like this. Cool. See what that looks like.
Baseball.
That's sounding better.
Really? An autographed baseball?
That's feeling pretty good. Now let's see where we are with the roll. So my spine goes up and back. Huh. So that spine is staying back and it comes around. Now, so I want to make sure I'm getting that where it stays in that orientation. So around 97.
Baseball.
See, I'm losing that there, so I want that to be more like that. And it's kind of up and cocky.
Baseball.
Yeah. And then I can keep that going this way so that it's, there we go. And then same thing here, I want to keep that shoulder high so that when he drops in. So 108, see my shoulder's still up, and then boom, 111, 112 is, now it's pretty down. So I'll say here, keeping it up higher, and I could probably kill this key now so that I don't have too many keys choking things up, and then boom, 111, have that just slow into this. And then here, in order to get that bounce, yeah, I could even push that here, just give it a little more, like an accent, and then have that still coming up, but at that point. So now this rotation there, I want, even though it's small, I do want it to slow in, so like that. And then same thing here, I want it to slow out, key, but then go here, middle mouse click, bring it back a couple frames so that it's slowing in. And then, okay, so from there, 144, 143, and actually extend that a couple frames forward. And then it's mostly forward by, say, 151. 150. So I can slow it in there already by 151. Let's see what changes are going on. Autographed baseball. Yeah, it's mostly just to slow it. So by 180, it's shifted up. 179, 180. There, it's pretty clearly up and over. Like that. And that's more around 179. So I'll kill this key. Let's check here. And then so 181. Now, boom, it's forward more, 185. So I'll go to 185 here, and it's pretty clearly kind of forward like that. And then see where it's straight. Yeah, and then the rest of the way it's still pretty forward. So, like that. And then kill the key in the middle. And then what we could do is we can give this a little bit of a drift like this as a result of the movement, so that it's staying alive, and then just slow in a couple things here. Yeah, and that's looking pretty good.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
And I'm looking for a change right there. It felt a little stiff. So I'm going to kill 185, and 183 to 187 has a little bit of a shift now. So it kind of drifts a little and
Baseball?
rolls.
Hey, can I have one? Really?
Alive.
An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
Shoulders could be more straight, like it's still coming over. From the other side. So it's stepping over. And there. And then that way you can like roll. It could even be exaggerated more. That. And then let that be a little happening more over the length of it. That's a little too uneven, so slow it in a little more than that, but so like something like this. Maybe one less frame, so 200 to 198. That's got a nice little thing.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
The important thing is that I don't want to just animate only based on the video. I want to use the video as the starting point, as the jumping off point. But then I want to exaggerate it according to what looks good on screen, because he is an animated character, and so he does need to
Really? An
have
autographed
exaggeration.
baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
So that's moving nice. I like that. So in the next section, we will continue with working up and out, animating the spine and head. So now that we have the spine animation done, we're ready to start focusing specifically just on the head. And so if we take a look at the reference here, so that head is starting higher and then coming down, kind of hitting that angle at frame 4. So grab head control, and it's starting kind of more of something like this. Go to frame 4. And, looks a little different because of the eyes. But again, I'm not really focused on the eyes because I'm going to, fix that later. And then, so the head orientation stays kind of like that until, say, frame 16. So 16, so open up my dope sheet and bring that frame over to 16. That. And I can copy that key from here in order to be able to make sure that I'm maintaining that angle. And I do allow my head to drift up. Really? Okay. There. Really. So, say 21. Which is exactly where I was. Let's move that key over to 21, so we're not fighting it. Really? So that stays in that attitude till about 40, which is what we have here. And then from 40, so it hits 47, up like this, and it's angled this direction, like that. And that's already coming around pretty nicely, but if I can add a breakdown in there to make sure that it's rolling up and over to the right the way my head is in the video. And then there's a second accent there, so it comes up, it's hanging, and then it's around 51. Getting that orientation. There, yep. Going high at 58. Go over here to 58. Coming up even more. And let's lose this frame, because we're ending up fighting it. So it's a 64. Just frame right there. Okay. $69. So go to 69 and then match that. Orientation is kind of down and sideways. That thing. Something like that. And then that stays like that till about 75. Go to 75. Let that come up a little as a slight anticipation of it moving down again. Move that over to 75. Check the reference here. Ball 79. Ball. Really hitting that low. Like that. And that stays there till about 89. Or 88. It's fine. Okay, now we can really focus on the head coming around here. So first, it rolls up at 93. From there to there. And that's kind of up and straight. Like that. I'm going to kill frame 92 so that we're not fighting. I'm going to kill the next frame too, because I'm probably going to end up just replacing it. So at 93, that head is up, kind of like this, straight, so that I'm getting this roll sideways, da 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 da, like that. Cool. And then here, so 97, now it's back. Whoop, 97. Now it's back, kind of slightly angled in that direction. This. So 107. Like that. Lose that frame. So 111, it's coming down, but it's still angled in this direction. That head hasn't dipped over yet, it's still staying somewhat upright. And then 119 here. And that's like that. Now we can take a look at how this is moving. Boom. and then kill 118. And so what I want to do is I want to get that when it hits down, boom, there's an impact there, and then I can carry this frame over to there, so that that is a continuation of that action and that head, like that. And then going down, wait, so it gets most of the way down by 125. Which we got here. Wait. And then we can have that slow in. If I go to 124, middle mouse click, go back one frame, let go, hit the key, wait. And then, so that's still there at 128. It's still basically down. So I'll key that. And then by 135, it's up. Well, basically I can go here and key that back to 134. And so now I get that slow in. So by 142, still hanging out, and then starting at 142. It's kind of that move over to the side, just 2 frames. 149. And so that's continuing to roll kind of here. Yeah. We can tweak that so it kind of continues that roll around. And we could push that and exaggerate it for the sake of the animation, so the overall feel of it was the head coming around. We can push that. Watching the tip of the nose. So like that, and then I'll kill 149. So now we have this nice exaggerated head coming around. And then we'll push that like that to let it keep coming through. What we could do is, here for that, just let it come. Now that I have the later frame, if I kill this one, I can feed into the other one better. Graft, and then just keep it coming around. Graft, base, graft, base. Slow that in a couple frames. And that feels a frame late. So I can just bring these back 1 frame. And then that should give me baseball. And let's do baseball. And then I'll actually push that one back another frame so that it's a little slower. And then I think that's in betweening too much now. So now that I added that extra key there to keep that curve going, maybe 1 frame slow. 176, the head's coming well over. I wanted to keep what I had going to 173. 176, head's going, hey, swinging over. And then back again by 179. So it's over here. Look at more straight at us. I'm going to go ahead and lose the next frame because I know I'm going to be doing more of my own thing now that I'm just animating the head. So it's pretty clear, that up looking thing, and we can push that 183. Hey, can I have more? So there's not a lot going on in the head. We can push that a little more in the animation. that's it for the head reference. So now what we can do is we can push the arcs in this. So if he swings over, instead of coming over directly sideways, we can have it go down first so that we're hitting an arc. And same thing there. And kill the key in the middle so we can keep a nice arc going. This. You can push that up. Kill 184. Boom. Since I have that head coming around, I kind of want to do something in the opposite direction. So I'll lose this. And maybe push this all by one frame, because it's feeling a little abrupt. Hey, can I have... So if I let this slow out by a frame, like that, then I can hit that accent one, and then let that head slow in. And now that's feeling pretty good. So let's take a look.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
I think that part is feeling a little off. So I'm going to kill that immediate frame. I think that's making it too quick. Slow out of that a little more. That feels better. And then maybe like this. Key that. Putting that around. So, there, boom, boom. Get that tip of the nose coming around. Like that. Boom, 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 boom. Continuing around. And then keeping that, killing the key in the middle. That should give us a nice roundness. That feeling probably a lot better. Let's see.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
Yeah, that feels way better. So now that we have the head, it's time to move on to the next section, which is it's all in the wrist, animating the arms and hands. It's all in the wrist, animating the arms and hands. So now that we have the spine and the body done, we can focus just on the arms and hands. I'm not really too worried about animating the fingers and such, in much detail because of the fact that we are going to be doing that in the polish pass. Right now the main thing is getting the overall arm done. As we can see in the video, I'm really just my hands are just kind of down on my side, and it's their movement with the rest of my body that is helping to show that the fact that it has weight and what that action and motion is. So if I'm animating the body to that, then that's going to help reinforce the weight and everything that the body has and the motion that it has. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, in addition to those elbow and hand controls, I'm grabbing the spine control. And what I'm looking to do here is I want to go in the dope sheet here, and I just want to make sure that I have any place where I have a key on all the hands. For example, here, I'm just going to move that over to make sure that those keys are lined up with where I have chest keys too. And the reason that you want to have the keys for these hands and stuff on the same ones that the chest is because of the fact that when the shoulders move, that's when the arms are going to theoretically be changing position as well. So I don't want to have the arm keys be on a place where they're on either side of a shoulder key and then it's affecting the rotation of the elbows and stuff. So like in this case, it's far enough away that I don't want to just scoot it over one or the other. I'm just going to delete these ones in the middle. The reason that you move the hands and arms to the chest keys as opposed to moving the chest keys to the hands and arms is because the hands and arm keys that we had up until this point are just placeholders anyway. But we've actually already gone through and done polishing on the chest, so we don't want to break that, and we should continue working up and out. So now at this point I know that all those keys are living on a place where there's a spine key as well, if there's a key. So now I can go through and basically just make sure that anytime I'm hitting a major body position like this, that I have those arms carrying through in a way that looks nice and has good weight. So this is looking pretty decent on this side. I'm going to go now to this side, and because of the fact that he's moving back, in fact I could actually start this a little more straight and maybe a little more back. And then that way, as he's coming back, the fact that it would be dragging a little forward because he's moving back. So it makes sense that that his hands would have a little bit of a drag to them, so that when he moves like that, as he's stepping back like that, those hands are dragging a little behind him. So now going here, same idea, he's only just now settling. So the hand could be something like that, and then actually maybe it'd be a little more up, and we'll take a little more this way to, we can, exaggeration is important, so see, that actually doesn't look horrible. But we want to make sure now that once it's settled, then it would have continued back because it has its own weight and followed through, and so the bend of this might be something like this. So let's see what that looks like.
Really?
Yeah, see, that's not bad.
Really?
And the thing is, we don't want to...
Really?
I would say that we could probably slow into this a little more. So if I go 2/3 the way through, middle mouse click, drag a few frames back, and then key, so that it's feeding into that. Yeah, that's a little too much, so I'll bring it back a few frames because we want it to not be too much. Something like that. Let's see how that looks.
Really?
Yeah, that's really not too bad. Now, he's, boom, shifting his positioning pretty significantly here. So as soon as there, where it's starting to become an issue, I'm going to go ahead and set a key here so that I can see, oh yeah, so he's moving up quite a bit, so that needs to follow through to make sure that it's not getting left behind or locking up. Now the reason that I'm doing one hand at a time is if I jump back and forth, there's a better chance that I'm just going to lose track of exactly what I was doing. There's no reason I can't take it one at a time, and when I do, I think I have a better chance of kind of staying on top of it and staying with my mind set on how this particular thing is moving and making sure that it's moving well. So I'm kind of massaging this on a frame-by-frame basis there, but, well, I want it to look right. And so I just kind of move through a little bit until I, and see if there's ever a point where my animator eye goes, that doesn't look right. Maybe bring the elbow in a little bit. Okay, so there. I want that hand. It was weird that it was coming back in. So bring that out like that. Bring that elbow back in again. So like this. Let's see what that looks like. In the reference,
An autographed baseball.
you can see that there's definitely a little, like in that hit. You can see that in the hands. So I'm going to make sure that I get that in here.
An autographed base.
So
Autographed.
it's right there where his weight and everything is shifting. Then this should also get a little bit of a drift. Now go here to this side view. Yep, I'll make sure that's coming through. All that's fine. And then there. So since he's shifting forward, then that could have a little drag to it. Like that, boom. See what that looks like from this view. Base. Yep. And the orientation of the hand, it could be having a little bit of a drag.
Autographed baseball. Autographed base.
And then you can let that lift a little like he is.
Autographed baseball.
That's too much. But, you won't know until you try. See what that looks like as we play it.
An autographed baseball. Baseball. Baseball.
And then so here is where that other shift is, so now I'm going to let that drop. Fall. And so we're feeling that shift.
Autographed baseball.
And then now I'm fighting an old hand, so I'm just going to copy this hand here so that at least I'm not fighting it anymore. And I can have that be a more solid reference. Just fold it a little bit, boom, boom, and now his body's coming forward, so that would follow a little. And there could be a little more drag there, so it's another movement again. And back to the front.
Autographed baseball.
Ball. So if we let that hand now come through, so we're seeing that reaction of the weight.
Baseball.
So way too much on that kick right there. So we'll just turn it down, okay? No. Something like that. Let's see what that looks like.
Baseball.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Baseball.
So here we want to see that hand being pulled through that back position. Huh. Now as he's doing that, and it's going to be pulled, back and through. And then so here, that hand is definitely coming like this. We can see that in the video reference. That when I do that laugh, see how it's being pulled around. There's an arc there. Now you can actually see like an arc there. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but there's an arc there that it's coming around and out. And we want to make sure that we keep that in there, like that, and have that follow through, that it's coming through like that, and the hand is dragging, and it goes along, and then settles. And that's definitely something that we want to get. So we got that coming around like that and coming through, and that actually is working pretty well. I can bring this forward like that, key that, double check this side, making sure that that's coming around. So like there, it wasn't really feeling like it was coming around, so having it come and there we're getting a little more of that. So maybe some in here, have that there. This is following through. Kill that key in the middle, coming around, and then here. So we want that to be like that. The hand is coming through from there to there. Let's see what that looks like in the front. There to there. And that could be dragging a little bit.
Wait.
Yeah. That's coming through like that. And then I can have a little bit more of that. And then what we can do is we can copy that key here. Like that. And that can be the result of that swinging through as he's finishing that sentence and going, wait. Something like that. And then that dropping a little bit. As you see moving his body going. And we can have a little overlap there because it's shifting that way.
Wait, really? Wait, really? An autographed baseball?
And coming up. So when he shifts his body here, from here, he's shifting his body pretty significantly there, but the hand is floating in. So we want to give it a key. So like that key where it's kind of like out is fine. So if we went, say, here, and middle mouse click and bring that in way sooner, then that becomes like him going into that. And then if we go just, a couple frames behind that and replace that frame with that, and that's keeping it alive pretty well. And what we could do is we can have the hand rotate over and then come back again. Like that. That's keeping that pretty well alive. I would say if anything here, it could even drift back down more again to keep it alive. But the overall positioning of the arms is moving through. We could even have it drift back a little with the movement. And that's moving pretty good. And then now coming through, so in the reference, so that hand comes up pretty quick. Hey, can I have one? And I get up to that. So it's most of the way there. So I could even bring this key just in sooner, so it's hitting there sooner. That's certainly an option. Bring this over here. And then just have this actually moving in a way that's keeping it alive through the course of the animation. And that's actually not bad right there. So it's kind of, we could fix this arc though, like right in here, that arc. That should be arcing in towards him. So we can bring that out. Maybe a little less than that. But it was arcing out before and that wasn't working. And this is actually now working better because that arm is following with him. And we can keep that elbow more out, kill that key that's in the middle that we don't need anymore. Like that. That actually is feeling pretty good. And this hand drifting down, instead of it drifting quite as far, maybe a little less, and then also rotating it up so that it feels like the hand is drifting, a little, but that it's remembering where it was, so that it's acting almost like a drift and like a overlapping action. So that's feeling pretty good. Looks like there was a little lock in the arm here somewhere. Let's see. Right there. Right there. Right there. That's locking up a little. So if we brought this up just a tad, maybe that'll take care of that. It's feeling okay. Yeah, it feels alright. In the next section, we will wrap up It's All in the Wrist, animating the arms and hands. Moving on now to the left hand, and the other reason why I do one hand at a time is not only is it better that I'm focusing on one thing at a time so that I'm not losing track of what the hand is doing, but if I work on both of them at the same time, that means I'm also setting keys on the same frames, and so it's going to end up twinning. Whereas if I am working on them individually and just going by kind of what I see and how it's moving, there's a much better chance that I'm going to key on alternate keys than what the other hand was and avoid twinning that way and make it look more natural. So say somewhere in here, I'm going to move like that, and just out of curiosity, already I keyed it one frame off. If I want to, though, just to intentionally, I can push it like to 12. So now I definitely am keying different from the other hand. Move that in, give it a little bit of a drag, check it. Oops. Check it over here, and make sure that the placement of it, giving it that drag here too. Maybe there, going from there to there. That's okay, keep that drag in, like that. But then through there, so that should be, I'm going to have this kind of happen here instead, and let that have overlapped. Check that from the front. So I can hear that hand could be dragging a little and starting to follow through. So that means that by here that hand is definitely coming from having been over like that. And that's maybe a little too much exaggeration, but giving it a little bit of that. Yeah, so that coming into that is actually kind of nice. And as long as I'm not penetrating the language, which I am a little, so let me come in here, and then I can also turn the hand out just to make sure that there's no penetration there, and bring it away a little bit like that. I'm also going to have an opportunity to make sure that I'm not doing anything bad with the fingers when I get to that polish point. So here is where I can definitely show the hand dropping with the body there, and give it a little bit of overlap again, like this. That's it. And then maybe here have the elbow breaking from what it's been so that it's not feeling too stiff. Yeah. So I think that that's fine. I'm going to key this here, and then in there let that have drifted over so that it's keeping alive and moving of its own volition. Kill the key in the middle, like that. Yeah, so now, so in here he's shifting. I'm going to key here and kill the 66 because he's starting to move his body, so I want to start showing that change. So that already is going to be a drop. because he's shifting his body so significantly. Raise, yeah. And then let it come up a little because he does. And then what I can do here is I can actually just allow the hand to do a little rotation, and that gave it a little bit of that kick from the drop, and then the hand's following through. It's continuing to follow through. And it's starting to that again, continuing to follow through. And there, that can be kicking out and coming down and following through. So these keys right there are kind of messing with me. Those are just based on originally just having them wherever, but that doesn't really reflect what I'm doing with them now. So I'm going to kill them so that way it is basing what it's doing more on kind of where I've been going with it. So like there, and coming in like this. So here coming through, it's coming forward, continuing, and maybe there it's falling through that. And allow that to be more like what that was. Boom. Let that continue based on what it was doing. Like this. Let's see what that looks like. A lot of doing animation where you're doing stuff like this, it's where you really start getting away from doing key poses and kind of almost working straight ahead, which is one of the 12 principles of animation. Pose to pose versus straight ahead. When you're doing secondary action like this, very often it just makes more sense to animate it straight ahead. Okay, and then there's just this little dip there that is messing with me. Fill that. There. I would say, if anything, this is like feeling like it'd be a little quick, so just drag it a couple frames over, like that, so that it's taking a little longer to happen. Because I kind of like that action, and that's feeling much better. So now in here, let it rise up so it's staying with the body. Maybe coming out a little bit as a reaction to the thing that he said. And what we can do is key one frame back to give that reaction a little. It felt a little fast, so to give it a little more time to happen, and then. So here, that hand could still be having kicked up, and it's going to be coming forward. Let's kill that. Okay. Huh. And then now. Huh. That could be dragging forward. Huh. And then now it's coming through, so it's going to be dragging back. Like that. See, like this. And then obviously here, I'm going to have it quite so. Just like that. And that would have kicked forward. Like that. so low. And a little less like that. And then I'm going to kill this key because this is just old posing. But we can have a little bit of a reaction there because it's changing. And like that. It's now, because I moved it back, it's changed the height a little bit, or how that's feeling, so that needs to kick out more. And then I can continue it coming out so that we're getting that's arc happening. So it's getting a little long like that. And so that should continue dropping because of the shoulder. Maybe follow through a little more there. And in order to keep it alive, continue that hand falling through there, like that. Up a little bit. And it's feeling pretty good. Then they're here now as, so I like this. So I'm gonna, right there as it starts to shift, I'm gonna let that hand, I'm gonna key it, let that hand drift back a little to have that secondary weight. And then kill this key so that it's interpolating between it. So now we should get a nice little, nice little overlap right there. And we can slow into this a couple frames and continue that. Lifting a little. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. And then now here where it's shifting, let that hand come up and out, turn a little bit, starting to show. And what we can do is copy this key here to there. And then get this. I feel like if anything that would drop there, we could kill that next key. So it's interpolating down. And keeping that alive. It's drifting, then it would do that. And now the hand is coming up. So we can push that arc in a little bit, like that. And carry it through the body so that it's moving with the body like that too, which is nice. Like that. And then have it come in with the other hand like that. So that it's moving with the body. And I think that's working here, but not quite in between the others. So if I kill this, now that's moving pretty well together. Just scoot that over a little bit, kill the key after it, so we're not blocking ourselves in. And then keep that coming over, keep it alive the same way the other one is, like that. What we'll do is we'll give from here, so if he comes here on his hand, if he pulls it in, and we're going to exacerbate that with the fingers too, so he's gesturing in that way, and you can have that here too, and then it comes back a little bit. Yeah. Let's check from the side. So that's feeling pretty good. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. So like there, that hand can point in a little bit, like that. And then key here and kill the one in the middle so that it's interpolating, and that should give us a pretty fair movement, and if anything, just continue that coming out so it's a continue of that initial action. Yeah, and once we, exaggerate that with the fingers, I think it's going to work really nice. So I'm going to call that done for the initial arms and hands, which means it's time to move forward to the next section, which is it's all in the eyes, creating believable eye animation. It's all in the eyes, creating believable eye animation. So now that we have the animation of the body done, the next thing I want to do is animate the eyes. When I animate the eyes, I usually will animate the eyes where they're looking first, and then animate the eyelids and brows, etc. I want to make sure that I have where the character is going to be looking first, because where exactly I want the lids will depend on exactly what the eye position is. This rig actually features with its eye controller where either A, it moves with the head so that when you move the head the eyes move. It also has an option in which it allows you to change the driver from the head itself to, say, the world. So I'm going to switch over to the world controller so that I can have him be able to be looking in the world and move his head around without necessarily changing his eye focus. So I'm going to switch to camera because in this scene he is kind of playing to camera, but also make sure that this is going to look the way I want it to look when in the final scene. So the thing here is the aim controller there, because I switched it and it has keys on it. I need to make sure that I go in here to the graph editor and change these aim keys, get rid of all of these ones telling it to be the head so that it will follow the world only. I can also go ahead and kill these other eye control keys because I want to just start driving from the very beginning. So I'm going to bring the eyes down just a little bit, because if I have any kind of eyelid there, then I don't want him to be looking too much out of the top of his head, but I do want it to be looking some out of the top of his head, because that is the kind of the attitude there. And even though this isn't like dead on between me and the eyes, that doesn't look right, and that's partly because of like the distance to camera and everything. So the most important thing is that it look right in camera. As long as it looks correct in the view, that's really what matters more than anything else. And so basically I'm just trying to make sure that he's staying focused. Here he raises his head so much that I'm cheating the eyes up so that we're still going to see him and they don't get lost in the middle of his head. Here I want it to slow out of that other one, so I'll just add a key up so that we're not chasing the eyes too much. Keep them alive a little bit. And then, so now that's kind of like the last key where it's in that position, and then now here it's going to this, so I want to change that so it's more on him. Now that orientation of the head, we don't usually want an eye that's just dead center with white all around it, so I'll be using the eyelids in order to be able to keep him from looking too wall-eyed there. Like that. So anytime he's shifting the head is a good time to make sure that I've set a key so that I'm keeping. Now this is where he's doing his so that he's going to do like a roll of the eyes. Oh. So already he could be going over like this. And so again, I'm playing to camera to make sure that it looks good from this view. That's the most important thing. And here, coming down. And then rolling in again. And some of this might be, like there might be an eye blink away. And you're just kind of looking off, kind of like, man, can you believe this guy? And then his thinking. So now here, I want to kind of show that thinking. So I'm going to have the eyes move first so that we'll see that his eyes are kind of leading that action, and then his head is following. Like that. In fact, maybe even that final position would be more like this. Wait. And then now he's looking up. So again, I can lead with the eyes. So he's there. He could start looking up here and be pretty much looking at you here. Wait. I like that. And then, really? Really? And I want him to feel like he's pretty focused directly on us. And there's going to be eye blinks and stuff in here too anyway, so the main thing is getting the eye position. Again, the benefit of doing one thing at a time is that you definitely are getting nice focus on that one thing that you're focused on. At this point, he probably needs to have that move or to the side, or maybe more out in front of him. Whoops. Like that, just to give it some space. And then, if we take a look at the reference, he does kind of do like a little take there to the side, like, hey, can I? Or I do, I should say. Can I have one? So like there, that could lead to him doing kind of a little hey, and then back to me with the camera. That. So let's see what that looks like at speed. I can hide the controllers here and just show the polygons.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one? Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
Yeah, I think that feels pretty good. There's one moment in here during the roll that feels like it could get a little more love. So I'm going to come back out of camera since I know that I've established that pretty well, just so I can scroll out a little more and be able to see the controller better. Huh. Yeah, right there, kind of like that pacing. Get that to roll a little smoother, take it maybe a little more time. Hitting the corners and then down. Rolling through. Yeah. I think that'll feel a lot smoother. Let's see. Go here to scene camera, hide the controllers again, take a look.
Really? An autographed baseball? Wait, really? An autographed baseball? Hey, can I have one?
Yeah, I think that feels pretty good. So once the eye blinks and everything are in there, I think that's going to be really fine. So in the next section, we will do the eye blinks and the eyebrows and stuff as we continue with It's All in the Eyes, creating believable eye animation.